Hello, I am Kenneth Kelty, your host of Exceeding Expectations with Kenneth Kelty. I am a person with autism, intellectual, and developmental disabilities. I am an award-winning motivational speaker and activist. In my work, I advocate for self-determination by sharing my life with disabilities.
Good afternoon. I'm Susanna Miller-Rains, and I am the Alliances Manager and Partnerships Manager at Think College. I'm also the Managing Director of the newly formed Inclusive Postsecondary Education Association. I helped found the Southeast Postsecondary Ed Alliance, and I worked in Georgia for a really long time, for 10 years, as the lead of the Georgia Inclusive Postsecondary Education Consortium. So alliances are my game, advocacy and working with others. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Susanna. Yes, it's definitely an honor to have you here. And yes, we are definitely the gurus of alliances and alumni work.
Yeah.
Now, over the last 10 years, how have you seen alliances and causes for students with disabilities evolve?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of evolution. So I've been in the field for 14 years. I started out working in Georgia. So I'm going to kind of talk about my 14-year trajectory, not just the last 10 years. So when I did my first presentation in April of 2012, there were 119 programs in the country. Today, there are over 360. So in 14 years, we've tripled. That's a lot of work and a lot of really good work that's been done around the country. I can't really track the state alliance growth. I have more anecdotal information at that. There were, a decent handful of alliances 14 years ago. Now we have about 35 in the country. So that's really exciting. We're tracking them. We have monthly meetings, just really trying to support them. And then with regional alliances, there were no regional alliances before, I would say 2013. There were some talks in the Southeast. I don't know if there were talks anywhere else, but since 2013, we had one alliance that was really started in 2014, another one around 2016, 2017. Now we're in 2026, and there are 9 regional alliances that cover every state in the United States. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes, and yes, as a pioneer, I'm glad to see the growth that there has been in the last 14 years since when I first got involved with being in the UP program, then getting involved more in advocacy. So I'm glad there is more awareness in the Southeast. And I am fortunate that it is happening more abroad, as not that long ago, this whole movement was very, very new.
Yeah.
So I definitely am happy to get to be get to be seeing other alumni groups and coalitions. Now, how do you see nothing about me without me relating to IPSE Day?
I think the biggest thing I see with the Nothing About Me Without Me and IPSE Day is really having people share their stories. Inclusive post-secondary ed has impacted so many young people across the country in very positive ways. We're having more and more alumni every year. We have more alumni. And I think people sharing their stories, their success stories, even sharing their struggles, sharing what they've learned, how their life is better because of going to college. I think these stories can be shared online. I think people being able to represent their experiences in person during events. I think having in-person IPSE Day events is a really great thing to do. and just really speaking out that college is an option. And so I think the student voice is a critical voice and the alumni voice in IPSE Day. And that's really where I see is people using their voices to share the really great news that college is an option for students with intellectual disability.
Thank you. And yes, I'm very glad to hear about the student voices and perspectives. And I do love our Nothing About Me Without Me, just as it relates to Nothing About Us Without Us.
Yeah.
Was it's definitely to hear from the students and also from families because I know, as you've heard me in many talks say too, about how college helped give me more meaningful experiences. And it's great to see the growth each year as it's becoming more and more known. And it's important to know that this is a possibility for families to know about rather than some of the outdated approaches of just going only to maybe a filtered workshop where now
Right.
there's more options that families can know about.
Definitely.
Now, thank you. Now, I'll talk about the history in the last 3 years of the upcoming IPSE Day.
Yeah. Well, so IPSE Day has actually been around since 2019. It's hard to believe we are entering into the 7th year. Well, the idea started in 2019. It didn't go put it into practice until 2020. So I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Jerry Alliston. You know him too, Kenneth. He's in Mississippi, and we were on a board meeting for the Southeast Post-Secondary Education Association Alliance, and he was like, why don't we have an awareness day for inclusive post-secondary ed? And I was like, we can do it. Totally. So I made sure it was okay with our friends at Think College for us to take on this idea. So in 2020, SEPSI launched the first IPSE Day. I went to work for Think College in 2022 and brought it to our team. We'd kind of worked on it with Think College in partnership a little bit, but didn't really have Think College create materials and things like that until 2022. And that's when Think College really took over pushing IPSE Day and creating squares for people to use, creating templates for people to write why inclusive post-secondary ed is important. We started sharing how to get proclamations done and things like that. So it's really evolved from a really great idea that Jerry had in 2019 to what it is today.
Thank you. And yes, Sari Ellison has, so it's like you and I, has done a lot of great work in the IPSE world.
Yeah.
And this has been exciting to see over the years. And I am glad that just like the Americans with Disabilities Act, I'm glad that we in the IPSE world can now have our own Independence Day.
Yeah.
Just like other marginalized groups. And
I like
it's
that
just
perspective.
and it is just before the summer months. May 1st is IPSE Day. And how have you enjoyed, and what would you say is some good ways to celebrate?
I think there's lots of great ways to celebrate. So one of the ways that I think is easy for people to celebrate is posting on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, if you use Twitter, LinkedIn, you can, put IPSE Day around your profile picture and put that up. We have signs that you can print. So you can go to thinkcollege.net and click on resources. And under that, it says IPSE Day. And you can print off a sign. You can write why inclusive post-secondary ed is important to you and take a picture of yourself holding it. There are lots of other ways, like people on the state level have got proclamations from the governor or mayor. So Kenneth, we both live in North Carolina, and a couple years ago, the North Carolina governor proclaimed May 1st IPSE Day. It might have been when it was May 15th, but I went to UNC Greensboro to a celebration. I drove from Charlotte over there to celebrate in person with our friends at UNC Greensboro. And so that's really fun. A lot of states have been working hard on getting these proclamations for May 1st being IPSE Day. If you don't have the if you don't have the gubernatorial connections, you can go to your mayor, your city mayor. That's where Jerry started. He got the Hattiesburg mayor to make May 1st IPSE Day proclamation, and now they've worked on the governor. You can host an event on campus. Our friends at the University of Missouri St. Louis have a table. They get chalk art out. They have a button maker. They make IPSE Day buttons, take lots of pictures. So campuses can host an IPSE Day event to bring awareness on their campus. Whatever makes sense for you, for your university. We just want people to celebrate and share the good news that college is possible for students with intellectual disability. So whatever way makes sense.
Thank you. And yes, I am glad that more states have come around to making it be Yakos recognized IPSE Day. And it is always great seeing the signs and seeing hashtags like IPSE Day 2026 or whatever year it is. And yes, I do remember originally it being May 15th, but it is pretty neat about it being on May 1st, and even seeing colleges do more around IPSE Day, because it's great to see it being celebrated and embraced by the broader university, rather than it's just not being. And it'll be cool in the future to see maybe how the student governments also can insist on promoting different IPSE days.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's always exciting too. And I'm glad that more of the alliances have grown over the years, where it used to be small. But I am glad that also last year IPSE Day I am very glad that the Southeastern Post-Secondary Education Alliance got to be in Asheville, North Carolina. And
yeah.
And maybe in a couple years, maybe it can be over at UNC, huh?
Oh yeah.
As I'm glad our friends at the State of the Art were able to do.
Yeah.
Make sure you celebrate IPSE Day on May 1st, as we want to continue seeing growth in opportunities and hearing from the alumni voices.
I think it's just a day to celebrate that things are possible that once upon a time never thought were possible. So students with intellectual disability going to college should be celebrated, and it should be grown, and we need to shine the biggest spotlight we can on it so people see this as an opportunity for the future.
Thank you. And we definitely want to keep growing. And thanks to FinCollege, IPSE, and our friends at the Association of University Centers on Disabilities, thank you definitely for making IPSE Day more and more possible, and for giving more opportunities to students with IDD to be able to expand. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on to my podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is your host from Exceeding Expectations with Kenneth Kelty. Go above expectations